helping give advice to Max, but also everybody else that's in that team in terms of the other drivers. Slick tyres then, because although we had rain at the start of the day, the track has dried up fairly quickly, as it seems to do here, and helped by actually quite mild conditions. So they are going to start on the Hankook slick tyres. They're all 2-litre cars, 4-cylinder engines. They're not turbo powered, but they are direct fuel injected, these engines, this season. They produce 240 brake horsepower. A mixture, as I say, of different engine suppliers, but they're all on the newly homologated Dallara chassis, and they're about to encounter on their second race of the weekend here at the Norris Ring. It's the 17th race of the season. We're into the second half of proceedings now. It's the 6th event of the season after visits to Silverstone in Great Britain, Hockenheim in Germany, Pau in France, Hungary and Spa and in Belgium. And here we are back in Germany as they try to generate some heat into the tyres. So there's confirmation of the starting grid. Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon on the front row of the grid. Tom Blomqvist and Felix Rosenqvist on row 2. A terrific effort from the Euro International driver Santino Ferrucci. Only his second weekend to be qualifying at 5th on the grid, with Jordan King, Lucas Auer, Antonio Giovinazzi, Jake Dennis and Nicholas Latifi rounding out the top 10. Antonio Fuoco there with work to do from outside of the top 10. And 26 cars there are starting the race in the first qualifying session, which you and I, Dave, watched from right by the circuit, right at the Scholler S's, which they're about to head towards. It was fantastic to see these drivers just nursing the steering wheel, fighting against the bumps, and there you can see it's a relatively simple circuit in terms of layout, but as Tatiana Calderon said to me yesterday, it's so much more than just 4 corners. The car is dancing around everywhere, under braking, it's very bumpy, it's very easy to lock the brakes, and you are just fighting against it, correcting the car almost all the time, and you can see that where we stood. Absolutely, and we were advised to go and stand there by Marcus Simmons from Autosport magazine, who said to watch F3 cars going through the Scholler S's is something to behold, and he was absolutely right, wasn't he? They get so close to the barriers and to the wall. It was a joy to watch them there. So cars coming into grid order then, and then this race will be underway. The second of 3 Formula 3 races across the weekend here at the Norris Ring Speed Weekend. A big crowd here to enjoy this, as Chris Hartley said earlier on. Quite a bit of rain around, but this track does dry out so very quickly. So let's see how we do then. We await the green flag from the marshal at the very rear of the grid. There is Tom Blomqvist starting from P3 with Ocon and Verstappen ahead of him. So, red lights come on. As soon as they all go out, the race will be underway. Revs rise. The focus is on the start of the race, and it's a good start from Max Verstappen by the looks of things from pole position. Away they all go. It looked like Ocon made a decent start, but Tom Blomqvist has made an even better start. And look, Ocon has to pull across to the middle of the track because the inside line there is still damp. And so Blomqvist from the outside line will get into second position. Ocon will be in third place. And then you've got Lucas Auer trying to make his way through. Felix Rosenqvist in the middle as well. I think it's Auer that's come out the best of those two. Yes, in 4th position. Ferrucci still in 5th place. And going very wide at the first corner was Felix Rosenqvist, who's dropped down to 5th position. That's a few drivers off. Menezes into the wall there in the blue car. And then you've got Michele Beretta, who was assaulted yesterday on the track by Jolson Kowiak, who's put back 5 places on the grid as a result of that. And Spike Goddard was involved in it as well in the number 11 car. And Menezes actually was just trying to steer out of all of that. And then it was Alexander Toril there. Toril got caught out as well, kind of an innocent bystander. And for the 5th time this weekend, the safety car is deployed in a Formula 3 race. And we were saying just how well they'd all done in these qualifying sessions, not to be running into the walls, but it's just packed, isn't it? 26 cars. Although, as he said in his track guide, which he put up on social media, Felix Rosenqvist did a walk around the track, which was really interesting to watch. And Felix said, actually, for a street circuit, it's quite wide here in parts. Which is one of the reasons why you can overtake, but that's not one of the wide parts, is it, down through the Grundig hairpin? No, and that bent car reinforces that fact, doesn't it? So, well, Felipe Guimar is, for the second time this weekend, is in the woes. Let's get a replay of the start then, and Blomqvist got a great start, didn't he? So did Max Verstappen. The one who was perhaps didn't get the max out of that was Ocon. They're diving across Max Verstappen and Tom Blomqvist. It was down the outside, and Felix Rosenqvist was also in there as well. He actually made a good start, Rosenqvist, but yes, look, he'll lock up here and go straight on. and very wide through the Grundig hairpin, which is why he lost a couple of places and dropped from 4th to 6th. Ocon has been quite self-critical in his starts. To be fair to Spike Goddard, I think he got nerfed from behind, didn't he? Maybe by Simkoviak. He then got nerfed as the chain reaction continued. Hector Hurst, number 22, weaving his way through it like he did yesterday to go from 22nd on the grid up to, or from the back of the grid up to 13th place in the end. So let's have a look. Goddard, yeah, just got clipped by Beretta. So Michele Beretta clipped him. Then there was a chain reaction and 1 or 2 completely innocent bystanders there. Alex Terrell just had nowhere to go, did he? It's a shame for the young Spaniard. His older brother himself is a pretty strong GT competitor. So there's Felipe Guimarães, the Brazilian driver, South American champion of last year. Out of contention here already, but with plenty of time to repair the car because the next race for these drivers is not till towards the end of the afternoon. So the time continues to tick. And yeah, I'll say the part of the track that's remained the wettest is down the inside into the hairpins. Everywhere else is relatively dry, but those are the places where you need to be launching down the inside to overtake. So broken suspension, broken front left corner there for Felipe Guimarães, the 23-year-old from Brasilia.
What isn't helping their recovery operation is the fact that the nose is completely underneath the car, isn't it, and dragging along there as well. So it's a
difficult. Guimarães has just had the 1 points finish so far this year. That was at Spa in the last round. Has done a little bit of GP3 racing a few years ago, had a podium in that, then reverted to Formula 3 in South America for a couple of years with British team High Tech Racing, and some British Formula 3 racing with Fortec last season as well for Guimarães. It's going to be quite a long drag back to the pits, isn't it? They're going to try not to make the car any more damage than it is.
I just think he's sitting in there counting up how much it's
yeah, all costing. Interesting. 1 or 2 at the back of the field there to deliberately be going through the water, which you'd only do if you'd got wet tyres on, wouldn't you? I'd have thought they'd have all gone for slicks, but maybe there are 1 or 2 that were at the back anyway that may have gambled. Alex Torreal's managed to get going again. There is the Spaniard in the number 12 car. His mum and dad were both rally competitors. His brother Miguel racing in the GT Open Championship, finished in the top 10 in that championship last year. Alex, one of the younger drivers in the championship at just 17 years of age. Certainly not the youngest, but one of the younger drivers. An average age probably around about 18 or 19 in this championship. 1 or 2 in their early 20s, but not many. And you can see how heavy the rain was overnight and early this morning, just from how much standing water there still is there on the inside on the way into the Choleres. It's a very narrow, dry line there, actually, isn't it? If you stray slightly too deep into the corner under braking, you're going to be in dramas. Looks like they're not taking Guimarães all the way back to the pits, just to this escape road, so that's going to be quicker and less painful for him. And so we should be back underway fairly shortly, I think.
Yep, safety car coming in this lap. The lights are out, as you can see. So the safety car rounds the hairpin. That will dive to the right-hand side and into the pit lane as Verstappen now backs them all up.
And Verstappen looking for his 5th win on the trot. He's got the record for the number of wins on the bounce, but he's got the same number of wins of Esteban Ocon. They've got 5 each. Tom Blomqvist, who's splitting them at the moment there in the Jagondia IM Carling car. He's had 3 race wins this season. As the race gets back underway, then perfect restart for Max Verstappen. The Dutchman leads the British driver, the son of the 1984 World Rally Champion Stig Blomqvist. Tom in 2nd place, Esteban Ocon, and then Lucas Auer running in 3rd and 4th positions. Felix Rosenqvist has got ahead of Santino Ferrucci, so he is now into 5th position, the Swede, and really needing to amass some points to get himself back in the championship fight, having had a difficult first half of the year in which he's only scored 1 win at the Pau Grand Prix and 1 other podium finish, despite lots of other races where he was in a position to finish on a podium, then something went wrong, or he's had also issues with that car. The Muka Motorsport team, Peter Muka's team, have had some issues with balance on quick corners, and a harder suspension setup and a stiffer car is required around the faster flowing circuits like Silverstone and Spa. They've struggled, but here the softer car works for them. There is Rosenqvist, number 27, going through. Then you've got Jordan King up now ahead of young Santino Ferrucci as well. So Jordan King in the blue car there, whose teammate Ed Jones has missed a couple of races, hopes to be back for the trip to Moscow, the next event, having damaged a vertebra, an accident at Po a couple of rounds ago. So we wish Ed well and hope to see him back here soon, because he was certainly a very competitive driver at the start of the season, the Dubai-based driver. But there is Jordan King, number 5, pulling away now from Santino Ferrucci, who of course hasn't got any previous experience of this circuit, and he hasn't got any previous experience really of driving in these sorts of conditions on a dry track, but one which won't have a great deal of grip, Dave.
No. Just a couple of laps ago saw Galil get past Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, of course, in the wars yesterday, so Galil goes up to P10. Giovinazzi is P11, then it's Fuoco, Sorales and Nassani occupying positions 12, 13 and 14.
So there is Max Verstappen, the race leader. Tom Blomqvist kind of hanging on to him pace-wise on this lap, I think. Esteban Ocon there, the next one through. And I worked out that if Max Verstappen won all the races between now and the end of the season, and Esteban finished second in all of those races, then Esteban would still win the championship. So he's got a really healthy lead here. And that gives him a cushion, doesn't it? It gives him a buffer, because he doesn't have to go out and win all the races now. He knows that sometimes if he hasn't quite got the pace or hasn't quite got the grid position, then a second or a third place finish will do very nicely.
Yes, he's just got to be in those consistent points-paying positions, hasn't he? With the healthy margin, as you say, he has at the top of the points.
Good battle here on the fringes of the top 10. Felix Sorales, number 21, looking to get ahead of Antonio Fuoco. And then Sean Galal makes a mistake and runs wide, so Giovinazzi gets him back. Antonio Fuoco in the green, white and red Prema car there will also get through, I think, just about trying to squeeze through, although Sean Galal is not going to make it easy, and then off onto the damp part of the circuit goes Fuoco. He had no choice but to do that, because Sean Galal got his elbows out there, the Indonesian, who is now coming under attack from the Puerto Rican Felix Sorales. There's contact between them, and Sorales goes off. He's damaged the front right wheel, which I think he's broken the suspension on, and Sorales there is stranded on the inside of the circuit. So dramatic stuff. He's going to try and get it going again, but I'll be amazed if the thing is still put in the right direction. It was a fair old hit, wasn't it, on the front corner, but seems okay at the moment. He gets going again, and I don't think he did a great deal wrong there. He was trying to get past Galal, who'd been slow out of the previous corner. Galal really coming across at him there and squeezing him in. Sorales didn't really have anywhere to go, because there's a quite steep curb there if you want to go up onto the pavement. He was never going to be given any more room, so his only other choice would have been to slam the brakes on, I think. Sorales was never going to be able to do that. All a chain reaction, that, wasn't it? Luckily, nobody was right behind him to collect him as he speared across the circuit.
Yes, it was dramatic spearing across the circuit as well, wasn't it? And as you say, just so very lucky not to be collected by anybody there. So, drama there.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, here is Jake Dennis now on a march. Had a great drive through, some great overtaking yesterday from Jake to get up to 5th place. He is now going to come up against fellow rookie Santino Ferrucci, and Ferrucci, the American, has to let Jake go, because Jake got the better run going down the start-finish straight, was able to pick up the toe, and that's a fairly straightforward move for the driver backed by the Racing Steps Foundation, former winner of the BRDC McLaren Autosport Award as well, in recognition of all his achievements so far in his car racing career, in which he's won the Formula Renault North Eastern European Championship, and has also won the Intersteps Single-Seater Racing Championship, 4th in the Euro Cup last year. And with quite a bit of backing, drive-through penalty for Sean Galal, the Indonesian driver, and you probably don't need me to outline why we think that might be.
So that is the man that's got the drive-through penalty, and as Chris says, you've seen for yourselves exactly why that penalty has been awarded to that man, who takes it very straight away, doesn't he? Dives in. Not
this is Lucas Auer coming under attack from his teammate Felix Rosenqvist, who wasn't all that aggressive yesterday. I think he struggled for some reason with the car, but Felix is on it on this one, it seems. So Rosenqvist, who was a winner at this event last year, got on the podium as well across the course of the 3 races, going well. There's Tom Blomqvist making his way through the traffic now, still in 2nd place. So it's Verstappen, Blomqvist, Ocon the top 3. King is 4th now. Lucas Auer is down to 5th. And with Rosenqvist breathing down his neck, we've just seen Jake Dennis moving up to 7th ahead of Ferrucci, Giovinazzi 9th, and Latifi currently running in 10th place. time starting to come down now as a bit more heat is generated into the Hankook tyres. So 49.8 for the race leader Verstappen last time around. As Mitch Gilbert now comes into the pits. He's on wet tyres, so he was, I think he was the one I saw going through the puddles at the start of the race.
Absolutely right, you called that well. Didn't think it was possible that anyone would be out there on wets, but obviously they took that gamble that there might be a shower before or during the race, and have chosen now to come back in and change those tyres. So yeah, you're right, he was diving through the water, wasn't he, trying to keep those tyres cool. So and a lock up there from Lucas Auer.
Felix Rosenqvist will get ahead of him. Ferrucci going very slowly in the background through the hairpin, so maybe he made a mistake as well. The American driver running in 8th place has lost an awful lot of ground. There's Jake Dennis ahead of him. So here's the lock-up from Lucas Auer, and it was because really Felix Rosenqvist putting so much pressure on his teammate. And Tatiana Calderon running wide, possibly down at the hairpin as well. It's very slippy there. The trouble is, if you just stray off that very narrow, dry line, it's still very damp, and on the slick tyres, it's not going to take a lot for you to completely run off the road. I know it was Rosenqvist, yeah. Yes. So as we came back live from the replay, yes, it was Rosenqvist who was the hero into the hairpin last time we saw him a few seconds ago. This time he's the one making a mistake, and he has a big lock up. The car just glides straight on. He's turning left, but nothing is happening. The steering wheel's just going straight. The tyres aren't gripping, and because he was trying to get ahead of King. So I think maybe very disappointed with the race yesterday, where we dropped from pole position to 6th. A more aggressive driving style from Felix Rosenqvist. He does really, to be honest, need to go out and try and win races. As we've got Lucas Auer now having a go at Jordan King. Everybody's having a go. Everybody's failing. And Jordan King hangs on to 4th place again. And so that will put Jake Dennis now up into 5th position. Jake's going like a train, isn't he, there in the number 28 car. So he's the next one to have a go. And Jordan King's just sitting on the inside line and thinking, well, if you want to come round me, you've got to come round the outside, and I know it's going to be slippy there, so you can try if you like, but you'll probably go straight on, and that's exactly what's happened to the two Muga Motorsport teammates. You're
right. So Verstappen then with a 2.8 margin over Blomqvist, then it's Ocon, then it's King and Auer. Well, no, it's going to be King and Dennis, isn't it? And well, remember you mentioned earlier Jake Dennis winning the Autosport BRDC, and I was actually there when he got presented with that. So Jake Dennis looking really, really racy, isn't he?
No, he doesn't make a mistake that the other. He's watched all this go on, hasn't he? He's seen the mistakes that the other two have made. Yeah, so I'm not going to try it there because that's still clearly too slippery. So it is going to make life difficult to try and get past Jordan King now. And Jordan, of course, is fighting for his own points here. Jordan only just about in the top 10 in the championship before the weekend started. Then he didn't score any points yesterday. There's the battle for second. Tom Blomqvist just about 2 car lengths clear of Esteban Ocon. Esteban's only had 1 DNF this year. And out of contention is Tatiana Calderon, I'm afraid, the Colombian. Looks like she's had an off. And the Joe Zeller Racing Run driver, the same colour scheme as Muka Motorsport, because they have a collaboration between the two teams now. Looks like she's been caught out of the hairpin as well, and the safety car is being deployed.
Now, I just opened the door from our commentary booth, and it's just started to drizzle again, Chris Hartley. So,
oh dear. Mitch Gilbert was kicking himself for coming in and changing those tyres a few minutes ago, won't he? Putting the slicks back on after trying a gamble on the wets from dead last on the grid. And here's a replay of what went on. That was Roy Nassani going into the back of effectively his teammate Tatiana Calderon.
That was a launch, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's the second time this weekend somebody's driven into the back of Tatiana Calderon. She's not had a great deal of luck here. She was quick enough to finish 5th in one of the races at Spa. Really getting to grips with the team now. She only joined them literally at the start of the season. She was meant to be racing with the signature team, the French team. The car wasn't competitive enough. She switched to Joe Zeller Racing, and literally at 4 o'clock in the morning before the race at Silverstone, they were in the seat fitted. So she's taken a bit of time to bond with the team, and likewise, it's been going better of late, but she's been nerfed off there completely.
Much bonding between teammates there, will there?
Oh dear. So poor Tatiana, yeah. She was blocking the inside line. I think Roy had decided that he was going to go for it some time before that, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And expected a gap to open up, which never did. And they were both then on the damp circuit, and the inevitable happened, I'm afraid. So, I've lost count now, Dave. Was his appearance number 6 of the weekend for the safety car?
Yes, you might be right.
4 yesterday and 2 today, isn't it? So, hard to see from that picture just how much the rain is coming down, but any amount of rain on those slick tyres is going to be absolutely treacherous for the drivers. So Verstappen have built up nearly a 4-second lead, not anymore. Into the pits for the second time comes Sean Galal. First time was for a drive-through penalty. This one looks like it might be more permanent, maybe. He's not in a particular rush, is he?
No.
Although, no, slowly into his box. Well, he might as well have a go from near the back of the field, hasn't he? Put the wets on. He's not going to get any points anyway, and he can look like a hero if you try something a bit different, can't you? Might be a good call, that, from the team. They've got nothing to lose, really, so it's worth having a go, isn't it? So, are the safety car lights still on? Yes, they are. Max Verstappen's lead has been quashed again, and there, out goes Sean Galal. We'll keep an eye on what sort of lap times he does, but he's plumb at the back of the field now, and a lap down as well. So it's going to really need to rain for it to work. He's going to need everybody else to be heading into the pits, isn't he, for this to work as a strategy. But he'll probably be one of the quicker drivers out there for a time, depending on whether this rain stops or gets worse. Sean Galal taking the risk in the Jagonia IM Carlin Run team. 17-year-old from Jakarta. He lives in the UK, lives in Bath. Former junior rally champion in the KFC Junior Rally Championship, an Indonesian karting champion and an Asian karting champion. Car racing career started 3 seasons ago in 2012, where he was in the very popular and quite competitive Fórmula Pelota China Championship, in which he finished 4th before coming to Europe for the first time last season with the RR racing team, which was originally formed by Steve Robertson and Kimi Räikkönen, but was bought out several years ago by Anthony Hyatt, who kept the name, but it's a very different team than it was originally. Well,
Galil's strategy is definitely not going to work, because he's been given another drive-through penalty for leaving or been given a drive-through penalty for leaving the pit lane under red lights.
Right. I say, so it wasn't for pit lane speeding, was it? Because he crawled in. Right, so the next one to try something is going to be Roy Nissany. He's been shown a black and orange flag, which means a technical disqualification, effectively, in that he's got to come off the circuit and get something fixed. They're not happy with something, maybe bodywork dragging, or sometimes if it's fluid coming from the car. So they've made him come in. So as he's coming in anyway, they'll get the tyres changed. But the red flags are coming out. So although it doesn't look that bad on the screen, I can only assume this is weather-related, because the incident which caused the safety car wasn't a big incident, was it, Tatiana Calderon? There's the drive-through penalty. That'll be 3 visits to the pits for Sean after getting his best result of the season yesterday. So here you go, he's off, but the red lights you can see there are still on, and he should have stopped there. Wasn't either aware of the rules or wasn't keeping an eye on the lights, and through he went. And it was to make sure the pack went through before he joined in the middle of them. It's a safety issue, isn't it, that? Because he was understandably quite keen to get out as quickly as he could. So Sean Galal having a frustrating race 2 here at the Norris Ring, 7th event of the season. And the cars are now stopped out on the circuit, so a red flag. Maybe it's because the safety car's running out of fuel, Dave. It's been out that much this weekend. I can't keep going like this, he says. Can he stop the race?
Right.
It's got to be because of the rain, I think, hasn't it? Well,
do my meteorological bit.
Yeah, we haven't got any other information on the screen other than red flag, which we know, so we can see.
It's not.
Yeah, it's steady, isn't it? But it's not lashing it down. But as I said, it wouldn't take a lot for it to be very dangerous. I think maybe another circuit, they might have let it go, but given that there is no runoff, effectively, apart from 1 or 2 places at the hairpins, if you're off here, you're in the wall or in the barrier. Yeah. We saw a Sirocco Cup car going off in the barrier and absolutely taking it to bits yesterday, didn't we? And it took the best part of an hour and a half to repair, which they are desperate to avoid. And bearing in mind that, you know, inside a touring car or a DTM car is one thing, but these are single-seater drivers. They're all young drivers. They're all, you know, although the cars are built to the very, very high safety standards and all FIA approved and homologated, you do not want a single-seater car heading into a concrete wall. So they've taken, I think, probably the right decision here, the sensible decision to bring out the red flags and to stop the race.
Well, teams rushing on now with those wet weather tyres. And, well, the clock is still counting down despite the red flag.
St. Gilbert had the right idea in the first place, didn't he?
Yes.
They looked at the forecast and thought, yeah, rain might be coming. I'm dead last on the grid anyway. But to be honest, even if he hadn't come in and changed back to slicks, the strategy wouldn't have worked because they stopped the race anyway. And he wouldn't have gained an advantage, really. He might have got a few places before the red flags came out, but not many.
Just in the middle of the, to the left of your picture there, just saw Trevor Carlin from Carlin Motorsport walking across the grid. And there you can see on the trolley very much the wet weather tyres that are being brought out.
The Carlin Motorsport team, who this time last year were running a young man called Daniel Kvyat in this championship. He didn't score any points because he was a late entry, so he wasn't valid for points, but he was a race winner, got a win at Zandvoort. And the young Russian was dovetailing some Formula 3 European Championship racing with his GP3 title-winning campaign. And of course now has already become a point scorer on a number of occasions in Formula 1 with the Toro Rosso team, and looks like a real star of the future. Yes,
he was certainly impressive at Spielberg in the F3 Euro Championship. It's the sound of air guns going now as the tyres are being changed.
Yep, you can see the teams and just how quickly and effectively and professionally they work. Very, very high standards there. Talk about teams like Carlin, drivers that they've run in the past include Kevin Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo, Robert Kubica, Nico Rosberg, Max Chilton, Sebastian Vettel. Vettel also was run by the Muka Motorsport team when he raced in Formula BMW about 10 years ago. So they're used to dealing with upcoming talent, future talent, and been a number of conversations already this season, and even more so this weekend, because we did think maybe this was the one track where the rookies might struggle, and they really haven't.
No.
But what a great season it's been for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship in terms of the whole field is talented. I mean, 26 drivers out there. They are all successful drivers in all the other championships in which they've raced. They come here, and the standard is just so high. As Tatiana Calderon said to me yesterday, you know, you lose 1 or 2 tenths of a second on a lap, and you're nowhere because it's just so tight. And yesterday in that first qualifying session, we had 23 or 24 cars covered by less than a second. The Van Amersfoort team running that man, Max Verstappen, who led the race.
Clock has been reset at 15 minutes, so when the race resumes, that we're going to get 15 minutes of racing. It's the Van Amersfoort team working hard there on the Max Verstappen car. Now, he built a margin of some 3.8 seconds, Chris, over Tom Blomqvist, which is extremely good. Of course, all that will count as naught now.
And whereas Tom Blomqvist had a very good start in the original getaway, he's on the other side of the grid for this one now because he started the original race third. This time, he's the one that's going to have that inside line down towards the first turn, which normally you'd think was an advantage, but it seemed to be a disadvantage when they were on slick tyres and it was still a bit damp on the inside. I don't think he'll have a problem now because they're all on, of course, the wet tyres. And they will be on the wet Hankook tyres. Tom Blomqvist based in Cambridge. Races as a British driver, and after a difficult season last year, still finished in the top 10 in the championship, but he's really got a good team behind him, Tom Blomqvist, and he's taken his opportunity. As I say, he's got 3 race wins this year, so yeah, all those young rookies are coming in, but Tom Blomqvist, and I think to an extent Lucas Auer, are a couple of the drivers that have been around in Formula 3 for a few years that are kind of holding their own against these uprising stars.
Well, certainly those are the two, if you like, who are furthest up the points from those that have been in F3 before. Felix Rosenqvist, we thought probably going into this season with the experience he has would be one of the favourites, and hasn't had it all his own way by any means, has he? But then, you know, a conversation that we had yesterday is the fact that, reinforced by what you've said earlier, is the strength of the rookies that have come into the championship this year. Many would say, perhaps, potentially, this is one of the most exciting grids of rookies we've seen in F3.
Yeah, well, coming into this weekend, 4 of the top 7 in the championship were all rookies. is almost unheard of at this level of racing. You know, very often it takes a year or two to settle into Formula 3 and to become very much competitive. They're going to start, we're told, behind the safety car, so it won't be a standing start. Like that's something they're talking about introducing into Formula 1 next year, isn't it? Standing starts rather than safety car restarts after a safety car period, but it will be a start behind the safety car, which will make life a bit easier for the race leader Max Verstappen, who's had a few of these safety car restarts and done very well with them, actually. Although yesterday, the one that was really quick off the safety car restarts was Esteban Ocon, wasn't he? Got a place on one of the runs on Felix Rosenqvist as a result of that.
Well, I suppose we should say credit to the stewarding team that, for reasons of safety, brought that race under the Reds, didn't they, to allow the teams to change those tyres, because it is it's just steadily raining now.
It's getting worse, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, as you so rightly said, I mean, safety is, of course, paramount, and we saw the damage that was done to one of those barriers with one of the Siroccos yesterday, and you know, the impact with which it went into the barriers caused sufficient damage for the race to be curtailed for some considerable amount of time. And the very important point you make is it's all very well if you're in a tin-top car clattering into the barrier, but with a single-seater that is an altogether different story. So great call by those by the stewarding team.
Absolutely. When it happens, the restart has now been cut from 15 to 12 minutes, so it'll be a 12-minute restart. Is the latest news.
Interesting little DIY grandstand arrangement there, Chris, to max out your viewing potential here at the Norris Ring.
Proper motorsport fans, these. They don't care about the weather. They're coming out. They're watching their racing anyway. They're hardcore, dedicated motorsport fans here this weekend. And let's be honest, it's not the first time it's ever rained at the Norris Ring, is it?
I don't know if you've seen that at race events, certainly in the UK, there's a team of race fans and supporters that go around watching various race events, and they park their van, which is obviously used during the week for their trade. They park their van at an advantageous viewing point, and they have permanently welded to the roof of the van a row of 4 seats. Suspect it doesn't help the aerodynamic effect in driving, but they have a great vantage point when it comes to watching motor racing.
As long as they don't sit in it when they're on the move, on the autobahn or wherever. Well, they're enjoying themselves here this week. Absolutely packed crowd here at the Norris Ring because it's such a unique venue here, this street circuit. If you've not seen the Norris Ring before, it's only used as a motorsport venue once a year. These are public roads just on the on the outskirts of the main city centre of Nuremberg. And car racing has been going on here since the 1960s, originally mainly used for two-wheel motorsport for motorbike racing. Michele Beretta, who was taken out at the hairpin yesterday in pretty offensive style by Jolson Kvyat, who must have come from 5 car lengths back and completely outbraked himself and just ran into the side, T-boned Beretta, whose team, the Euro International team, the Italian squad, had quite a bit of repair work to do to the side of that car after yesterday's race. And they didn't have all that much time to do it because there was a qualifying session in the afternoon for this. Looking at the painted red line there, which is put here for the race, but there are lots of white lines on the circuit itself, which are just road markings. And you can see, I mean, you can see from that picture, Dave, that if you just walked on that, it'd be a lot slippier than the road surface itself. And that's something they have to watch in these conditions.
As you say, that really is something they have to contend with because there is lots and lots of white lines, isn't there? Lots of painted lines all the way around this this street circuit here at Norris Ring. And another point to make is when we see in the exit from the Choleresses where they run onto the surface changes from tarmac to almost like paving slabs, doesn't it? And the adhesion qualities of the two are very, very different.
Yeah, you've got grip, 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 no grip all of a sudden. It's right by the wall. We saw one or two earlier today, one or two Porsches from the Carrera Cup race really sliding through there. One or two clipping the wall as a result of it. Funky camera work there on Max Verstappen, who for a while now has had his wet tyres on. Max, who's second in the championship, but building momentum now. He's been quick since the start of the season, but there's a couple of races where he's struggled with clutch issues, one or two other issues. He had a drive-through penalty at the Hungaroring, like a lot of drivers did, for exceeding track limits. So he's had 6 DNFs, or 5 DNFs, and a DNS in one of the races at Hockenheim, when he should have been on the front row of the grid. Tom Blomqvist, on the other hand, has been much more the consistent driver, hasn't he? He's only had 1 DNF, and only 3 times out of the 16 races has Tom Blomqvist not scored points. So they'll restart first and second. That man, the championship leader, Esteban Ocon, will restart third. He had a DNF at Spa when he had it coming together with Antonio Fuoco, and then he went 3 abreast with Fuoco and Lucas Au in an action-packed race, one of the 3 action-packed races at Belgium. So he had a DNF there. It's his first of the season. The only other time he hasn't scored a point was at Hockenheim, where he was in 3rd place, and he had a fuel issue, and the car slowed literally with a corner to go, and he only finished that race in 9th place. But apart from those 2 races, he's either been 1st, 2nd or 3rd, Esteban Ocon, in all of the races so far. Verstappen hasn't had that consistency, but when he's finished, more often than not, Max Verstappen has finished as a race winner. Can he make it an incredible 5 wins on the trot now? And if he does this, he'll become the most winning driver of the season, because he's equal on wins at the moment with Esteban Ocon.
That will be a huge motivation. Also will be a motivation is matching his dad's record here at Norris Ring, who'd taken 2 wins. I think you said it was back in 1993. Well, got it all to do. The rain is, I've just checked outside, and it's still coming down, so exactly the right call from the stewarding team, as we mentioned just a little bit earlier. They're off behind the safety car once again.
It's 20 years since Jos Verstappen made his Formula 1 debut in 1994 at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Stood in for JJ Leto and partnered Michael Schumacher. Some teammates to have your first race. Of course, we're all delighted that there's been some extent of recovery for Michael Schumacher coming out of the coma a week or so ago. I wish him a speedier recovery as is possible. And there is Max Verstappen then, number 30. He'll lead them away. He's backing them right up, isn't he, Dave?
And he'd got that exactly right in the previous safety car, hadn't he? Where he just backed them up, and he was able, therefore, to get a flyer, wasn't he?
Rolling starts won't be an issue, because he's done that all the way through his karting career. Of course, pretty much everybody in this field has come from karting, but he's the most recent graduate. He's racing karts just a few months ago still. So Verstappen bunches the field up. Blomqvist there in 2nd position. Ocon 3rd. Jordan King 4th. Looking very well placed. His 5th place as well is Jake Dennis. We'll keep an eye on his progress. Look at the amount of spray, though. He's been thrown up from these wet tyres. The only one that can see where he's going completely is Max Verstappen, the race leader. It's a relatively spread out restart, this. Tom Blomqvist coming under a bit of pressure here, though, from Esteban Ocon, who goes for it. This might be his only chance to get 2nd place. He's determined to do it. Blomqvist runs wide. Almost contact between the pair of them then. Blomqvist runs wide and into the barrier. Clips the barrier. He's kept going. It was a square hit. Hopefully it was a relatively innocuous hit, but Jordan King's come through to 3rd. No, Blomqvist is slowing any kind of contact with the barrier. You can get away with it. No, it's the front left, isn't it, that's been hit. So that must have been from the contact with that wall. And was the contact before it as well, is the question. Almost here, not quite, but it's out of the corner.
It's now, isn't it?
And yes, he did, didn't he? He got hit by Ocon because the front left has gone there, which made me think probably that's what had happened. But I think it's the rear wheel, isn't it? There's nothing malicious from Ocon there. He didn't drive into him, but just as he tried to squeeze past, of course, the back end of the car, a little bit wider, just clipped Tom Blomqvist. And with all this consistency that I've been talking about, I'm afraid Tom out of the race. So Verstappen now will have already a 2.5 second lead. Ocon is 2nd. Jordan King is absolutely flying here, though, in 3rd place. He's taking on these rookies. He was a rookie himself last year within this championship and finished the season as the top rookie. Went on to win the British title, and he's got great traction now coming out of the hairpin. We cut away from it, but I think Jordan King was about to pounce and go 2nd. He's done it. So through he comes past Tom Blomqvist. It's into a yellow flag zone, but he'd already started the move coming out of the hairpin, so I think he'll be okay with that. Waved yellows here. Blomqvist still in the car, and yeah, I don't think they've got any other choice but to bring the safety car out, have they?
Interestingly, Ocon is under investigation for that little contact between himself and Blomqvist. I tend to agree with you. I don't think he did anything malicious there. I think he was just...
Well, it was his chance to get through. He went up the inside, and he was committed to the inside line, and he actually was through, wasn't he? Blomqvist was out wide, and it was as he squeezed past, and Blomqvist just ran out of room because the rear wheel clipped the front right wheel of Blomqvist. That broke that, and then to add insult to injury, he went into the barrier as well, went into the wall as well, damaged the other side of the car. But he's trying to limp it back to the pits, as you've seen, which might mean this is a very short safety car period. So Tom Blomqvist, who fell from second to third in the championship after yesterday's result. And he's having a difficult weekend here.
Yeah, this is going to hurt, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it'll be an opportunity for Lucas Auer maybe to move ahead of him as well. If Lucas has a good result here, Lucas could very likely move up to third in the championship, with Tom falling to fourth place. Jordan King trying to catch them up as well. And now Jordan King just clipping the back of Esteban Ocon. Yesterday, of course, there was contact. We didn't see it on the TV pictures, but there was contact between Blomqvist and Ocon, wasn't there, when they were running in second and third? And I think we saw it because there was another incident which happened at the same time, which the camera was trained on. But I think it was probably down at the S's, and Blomqvist went into the back of Ocon and had to go into the pits to sort his front wing out.
Ocon's got a drive-through.
Drive-through penalty. Well, he'll argue the case, but he won't be able to do anything about his result here. He can't go and argue it now, can he?
No.
So Esteban Ocon, the championship leader, is going to get a drive-through penalty for his part in that incident with Tom Blomqvist. And he may feel possibly a bit harshly treated by that. Either way, it's not going to help Tom Blomqvist, is it?
No.
His race is ruined. So Verstappen leads, King is second, and Jake Dennis is going to move up to third place once Esteban Ocon comes in to serve his penalty. And up to fourth position will come Lucas Auer. A very good chance for him moving into the top three of the championship now. Jake Dennis, first of all, though, has got to fend them all off, going through the hairpin, and Auer having a big go at him. You've got Felix Rosenqvist not that far back as well in the other orange car, the Mika Motorsport car, number 27, running in sixth place. And a real baptism of fire here at the Norris Ring in only his second event in the championship for Santino Ferrucchi, the number 29 car, the young American, run by Euro International. Outstanding qualifying performance yesterday, but he's on a street circuit in the car which he hasn't driven very much, and now in completely wet conditions. He'll do well just to finish the race, I think, and if he can get some points, it'll be a real bonus for him. As Jake Dennis now, I think we'll have to let Lucas Auer go into the hairpin. Lucas got the track position before they got to the braking zone, and a good clean move that from the Austrian. He's pulled off some nice moves. He's driving really well this year, Lucas Auer, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so. So we've got just under 6 minutes left on the clock here. Race being led by Verstappen. There is Ocon then with his drive-through penalty about to be taken. And, well, Dennis coming under some more pressure now from Rosenqvist.
Yep, so down to fourth place after that move from Auer. Rosenqvist trying to breathe down his neck. Ferrucci's hanging on to them, doing a very impressive job there. Just about half a second back in sixth place. Giovinazzi's up to seventh. Antonio Fuoco having a better run in the wet. He's up to eighth. Latifi's up to ninth. And Gustavo Menezes, who got a couple of podium finishes at Spa, the American driver, up to 10th. We've got two Americans in the top 10 in this race. And that visibility getting worse and worse as the rain continues to fall. And now Felix Rosenqvist, he's going to have a big go here, a big sideways moment for Felix Rosenqvist. And the trouble is, they're still turning as they brake there. They go over the crown and the crest of a hill. The car is unsettled, unbalanced. There's a huge amount of surface water. And he rally crossed into the corner. And it was fantastic car control. By all accounts, he should have been off in the barriers, but he held it beautifully, didn't he? Lost a place, though, as a result of it to Ferrucci, who's up to fifth now. Stunning drive. There's been a couple of occasions in this race, in both parts of this race, where you can see that Felix Rosenqvist is just going for it. And a couple of times it hasn't worked out. He has to go again there up the inside to try and get fifth place back from Ferrucci. But it's quite an aggressive start. It's completely understandable because he has had, by his very high standards, a difficult start to the season. He just needs to go out and try and win races now.
Look at this. As you say, absolutely remarkable control, wasn't it?
The car was completely locked up. It was skidding, wasn't it? We've all had those moments on the motorway in wet conditions where the car is aquaplane, and it's a heart-stopping moment, isn't it? But these racing drivers just keep everything cool, slow everything down, and they don't panic. And there he is. He only lost a place as a result of that. Any other human being would have probably been completely out of the race. So Felix Rosenqvist down to sixth position, but I think starting to come back now. Trouble is, you cannot see where you go. You've got to get into the slipstream. But once you do that, it's like being stood in a jet wash and somebody just jet washing your helmet. You can't see anything. Huge balls of spray, really wet out there now. No problem for Verstappen, though. He's
well,
3.5 seconds clear.
And he's the one that can see where he's going, can't he? Because right at the front of the pack, and as you say, some 3.5 second margin over King.
Jordan King, who's looking for his first podium finish since the second weekend of the season. He had a third at Silverstone, a third place at Hockenheim, and he's had a couple of DNFs in between all that, some points finishes, but this is much better from him as Giovinazzi now tries to make his way through the fog, and he's got Antonio Fuoco alongside him. You wouldn't have seen that at all if you looked in the mirrors, and he obliges by going very wide into the corner. So Antonio Fuoco, the Prema car, gets through, and this is more like it from Antonio. It's been a struggle of late, hasn't it?
Latifi also ran out into that runoff area as well, but managed to get back on okay, just went in far too deep, and we've seen that so many times at this particular turn, haven't we, here at the Norris Ring. The top of the screen, it's changed from laps down to the clock now with just under 2 minutes 40 seconds to run in this rain-affected race here at the Norris Ring.
Ocon in 16th place, the championship leader after his drive-through penalty. So for only the third time this season in 17 races, he's not going to pick up any points unless something melodramatic happens in the race. Verstappen 4.7 seconds clear now. That last lap, he was more than a second quicker than Jordan King in second place. Lucas Auer in third position on a very similar pace to Jordan King, so that gap stays at around about 4.2 seconds. There is Lucas Auer going through in third. There is Jake Dennis, the yellow helmet, the red and white car, red, white and blue car in fourth. Then Ferrucci having a magnificent drive, I think, there in fifth place. Another rookie for all these more experienced F3 drivers to contend with. Felix Sorales there in a race to try and get through and into the top 10 if he can, and he gets. Well, he's got Sean Gallard with him. He's a lap down, isn't he? Because yes, he's had, was it 1, 2, 3 visits to the pits now, Sean Gallard. So I don't think he'll be in a rush to fight that one too hard, knowing that Sean is a lap behind him. So decent performance by Antonio Fuoco, and he's not that far behind Felix Rosenqvist. There could be more points to be gained here. There's Giovinazzi in the yellow number 19 car, running at the moment in the points, running in 8th place. In 9th position there, right behind him, is Nicholas Latifi, who has been capable of finishing on the podium this year, and looks to be slightly quicker of the two, doesn't he? That car run by Prema Power Team, who also run the championship leader Esteban Ocon, and a number of other drivers, and with the champion team from last year. And he's having a big go here, coming out of the last kink, out through turn 4 over the start-finish line, and he's through. That's a fairly straightforward move, that, as we go into the final minute of the race now. Giovinazzi tries to fight back. Was in the air yesterday. Takes again a very wide line there, deliberately so, I think, because he tries and cuts back then on the inside. But this man is on course for his 6th win of the season and for his 5th consecutive win, and in a ferociously competitive championship. That is very impressive. We thought Esteban Ocon might be running away with the championship a month or two ago. I don't think he is going to run away with it. There's still lots of races to go, lots of points to be scored, and the gap will close now from 106 points, with Esteban Ocon not scoring any points, and the full whack going to Max Verstappen here. 9 seconds clear of Jordan King. He's not exactly relenting the pace either, is he?
Extraordinary driving from Max Verstappen. From King, then P2, then it's Auer, then it's Dennis, then it's Ferrucci, Rosenqvist, Fuoco and Latifi, as you can see on the screen there, as we focus on the race leader then, Max Verstappen, who will take yet another win. The man is on an incredible charge in this Formula 3 European Championship. Max Verstappen, we're watching a real star in the making here.
Absolutely right. He is just glued to the track. I mean, look how stable he looks. He's flying out there, but he looks smooth, he looks controlled, and he looks at home now, leading and winning races. From his first pole, he gets his 6th win of the season. Max Verstappen here, 5 in a row. How many people can ever say that? And who's to say he can't make it 6 with the race to come later on today. And a very good drive through to second place there for Jordan King. He had to do lots of defending in the first part of the race, but he drove really well to get through to second place. And good driving from Jordan to get onto the podium, back onto the podium for the first time in a while. Lucas Auer again impresses, and that 3rd place I think now will boost him up the championship. Jake Dennis comes home in 4th position, one of his best runs of the season as well. So 4th and a 5th for Jake, turning into a good weekend for the young British driver. And what a star performance as well it was from Santino Ferrucci, from 5th on the grid. He's 5th in the race, his first time at this circuit. Everybody else has had a head start on him because he wasn't 16 until May, so he couldn't join the championship until Spa. He missed the first 4 events of the season, but the young American is another one to watch. 5th place for him, and 6th position for Felix Rosenqvist, who tried everything but ultimately just didn't see another car underneath him in these conditions. And Max Verstappen, the race winner after 32 laps, and this is the replay of him taking the checkered flag. And you know, Dave, I don't think it's going to be the last time we see a shot like that.
No, I think you're right. There he was then, taking the checkers. Max Verstappen. Well, Jos Verstappen will be one of the first to go and congratulate his son down there. And as we said at the start, he'll be delighted that he's done the same as his father now, who reminded him of the fact back in '93 he took 2 races here at Norris Ring. Well, Max has done the same, and as you say, we still have another race yet to come.
He wants to get one up on Dad now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
More.
Here's confirmation of the result then. Max Verstappen takes the win from Jordan King. Then it's Lucas Auer, Jake Dennis, Santino Ferrucci then with P5. Then Rosenqvist, Foucault, Latifi, Giovinazzi and Menezes. And the rest of the order there, including Sorales, Van der Laar, Brian Meisner. Ocon then finishing P14. And wonder whether you're right, whether he will feel hard done by with that drive-through.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. There's always an argument there on both sides of the fence,
Sure.
isn't there? So, Lucas Auer gets another podium finish here this weekend to follow on from yesterday's performance. Lucas very solid here this year, the 1 win, and now that is 7 podiums in total for him. Jordan King comes home in a fine 2nd place. Really good drive from Jordan there, but nobody could live with this man. Max Verstappen winning the race, and it was only a 12-minute restart once we'd all changed tyres, and he won by nearly 9 seconds in the end. Terrific performance, and it closes the gap, of course, to the championship leader Esteban Ocon, who finished down in 14th place after he tangled with Tom Blomqvist, tried a move. There was a clip between the pair of them. Blomqvist ended up in the wall with broken wheels and suspension. Ocon was given a drive-through penalty and dropped out of the top 3. It's all going the way of this man, Max Verstappen, and couldn't be happier for him. Very tall driver, as you can see there. I think he's well over 6 foot tall. One of the taller drivers in the championship. So tremendous effort that, really good driving. And I mentioned how well Santino Ferrucci did. Probably shouldn't have been surprised because his record in the wet is exceptional. In America, apparently in the wet, he's not been beaten since 2008.
Really?
So he's a wet weather specialist. Although, as I said yesterday, he did well to finish in 12th place, I thought, in the dry conditions. Dario Franchitti, one of his friends and mentors, Santino Ferrucci, have been very pleased with the way that young man performed. So it doesn't really tell the picture from that shot of just how wet it was out there, does it? But it was extremely wet. It's still raining at a steady pace, and with all the surface water. I know we had a couple of safety cars, but by and large the drivers did well, didn't they, to keep it on the black stuff.
Yes, they did. And we'll be heading off to the podium shortly to see Verstappen, King and Auer on the steps. And we can hear Peter Reichardt just livening things up on the podium there. To the left of your picture is representative from Hankook Tyres. Manfred Sandbickler will be making certainly some of the trophy presentations there. Here comes Max Verstappen then to the top step of the podium yet again.
Yet again, yep, he wins. Top rookie, of course, as well. There'll be a separate podium for the rookies, a separate points for the rookie championship. Max Verstappen closing the gap to Jake Dennis for 2nd in that particular battle. There's Jordan King making his way onto the 2nd step of the podium, and Lucas Auer driving really well at the moment. Lucas there makes his way into 3rd position. He's certainly outshining his teammate Felix Rosenqvist at the moment, isn't he? His 3rd season of Formula 3. So now we'll have the national anthem of our winning driver. Well, Dave, it feels like a privilege to witness these young talents this season, because I'm absolutely convinced there are at least 3 or 4 of them that we're going to be talking about a lot in the future and making it all the way to the top of their sport, and that's certainly one of them, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you're so right. So trophy presentation being made now to Van Amersfoort Racing.
Yeah, turning into a great season for them, isn't it?
Manfred Sandbeck there from Hankook.
Difficult day yesterday for Carlin, so I'll be really pleased with Jordan's performance there for 2nd place. And Muka Motorsport also represented on the podium after they had a tough start to the season with Lucas Auer there in 3rd place. They've got another race to come towards the end of the afternoon, the 18th race of what's been an absolutely fascinating season. It seems like the season is going to get more and more intriguing as it goes on here, with this huge charge now from Max Verstappen, who is just chasing them down, chasing Ocon down. He's just going for the wins. He's driving beautifully, and it's all flowing very nicely for him at the moment. And this certainly has become the most competitive Formula 3 championship in the world now, hasn't it? No doubt. So champagne time. Can't drink any because they got the race to come. They can certainly splatter each other with it. Right, you made me fix your car enough times this year. I'm going to get you back, he says.
Chased right off the podium. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, you were saying there the most competitive. It's, you know, incredible success we're seeing in the FIA F3 European Championship. And, of course, a lot of that down to the architect is Gerhard Berger, of course, who's the FIA single-seat commission head. And, you know, it's had its tough times, this particular championship.
Yep.
You haven't got to go back too far in history, have you? But now, what an incredible talent pool we have in front of us.
Absolutely right. The circuits they go to, the Grand Prix circuits that are on the calendar, they're racing with huge crowds, with huge teams from the DTM watching what they're doing as well. Back onto the podium again, because he wins the rookie category. Yeah.
Slightly damper than he was, and perhaps.
Stickier. Probably can't quite see where he's going if you've got any champagne in his eyes. Jake Dennis there in 2nd place, and the first visit to the podium for Santino Ferrucci with 5th place overall. So fantastic performance from these 3 rookies here. You say Max Verstappen, one of the tall drivers. Jake Dennis is almost as tall as him, but being on the 2nd step of the podium.
But you know, comparing as I was then as we were listening to the national anthem, just look at the difference in terms of size between them. I mean, Jake Dennis is a tall fella, isn't he?
Yes, I remember when he was only up to my waist when he was 8 years old, but he's yeah, a very tall driver now. Takes his trophy for 2nd place. I'm sure Dad Steve, karting legend, will be watching that from back home. Mom and Dad very proud of Jake, and very proud parents, I'm sure, as well. Santino Ferrucci, really good. He's not going to be out there in the championship this year, having missed so much of it, but yeah, there you go. He's more racing driver size, isn't he?
Well, he is.
That's what you'd expect from a racing driver, to be a bit shorter, a bit smaller. Probably still growing though, to be fair. He's only just turned 16.
Yes.
Incredible. Not old enough to drive a car on the road, but he's old enough to drive a car 175 miles an hour at a street circuit and get onto the rookie podium. So, champagne again. Max knows how to do this, doesn't he? So he's the first one to open the bottle. Jake Dennis gets him back. And poor Santino Ferrucci doesn't know where to look.
No.
Well, 3 great performances there from these young rookies. Well done to all of them. Fantastic racing here, and the good news is there's another race to come from the Norris Ring with the 18th round of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Hope you enjoyed the action, and we hope to see you again here later. From Dave Richardson and myself, Chris Hartley, thanks for watching.
Durch dieses Rennen führen und wir hören uns dann so ungefähr ab 13 Uhr, wenn es geht Richtung Highlight des Tages. Der vierte Lauf der Saison 2014. Der deutschen Tourenwagen Masters der DTM mit viel Mercedes vorne, aber